Many of you know Judy. She has been in the law practice for over 30 years, specifically in the area of family law. She started Thong'ori and Company Advocates, a premier family law firm in Kenya, offering a wide range of services around family law, specifically matrimonial disputes, children's matters and succession matters. They deal with all that. We just want to celebrate and rejoice with you, Judy, because Judy mentioned to me that last week, her and her husband, John, have recently celebrated their 27th year in marriage. So they've been married for 27 years, and they have 2 adult children. And Judy, thank you for accepting our invitation to come and just highlight this whole area of divorce. So let me give you an opportunity to say hi to the congregation, even as we start this discussion. Karibu, Judy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, church. It's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon. I joined this church about 2005 during the referendum. You remember the heated time that was around the constitutional referendum and which way to go. And I did so because the church took a position that was very brave and that could not be taken by many others. So I thought this is a place I wanted to be because it cared about what we felt and how the law affected us in our very personal spaces. This afternoon, I'm especially happy also to be sitting here discussing divorce. In the churches we grew up in, Reverend Nick, I don't think I'd ever have been given a seat in the vestry as you did, or in this place where I am sitting. But the truth of the matter is that as you cannot talk about marriage without talking about divorce, because conflict in marriage is inevitable. So I am a family lawyer. I like to say that I'm a family lawyer by choice, and I made the choice when I learned just how we are defined by our families of origin, that's where we come from, our families of choice, which are the people that we get married to, but how conflict is inevitable in those families. I learned that unless we do something to address that, unless we as lawyers equip ourselves to help resolve and determine conflict, then we are going to have a society that is so shaken up in their very personal spaces without proper support. In the 90s, when I was a young lawyer, Washera, I can see you there, so I know you also know about that time. The older lawyers used to take on family cases, and they would call me and say, Judy, can you take on this case? This lady, it was especially ladies then, is calling me in my house at midnight at 10 p.m. I don't know what to do. But it's because we hadn't built capacity as lawyers. We hadn't understood that a divorce decree in somebody's pocket did not make a difference. We needed to address the marriage at the emotional level, therefore sending people to counseling. We needed to help them mediate so that they deal with many other issues, and that divorce, the legal divorce as we know it, is a distant third. So this is why, for me, I see the place where I need to serve the Lord most is in dealing with family law as I do. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Karibu sana. And why don't we start by, thank you. Why don't we start by giving an opportunity to paint a picture of the state of divorce in Kenya? I mean, what issues do couples find themselves presenting before you as reasons for divorce? What's the state of divorce currently in the country based on what you've interacted with and seen? Just paint for us a picture of the reality, the real situation as you see it.
I see. So first of all, divorce is humbling. To go through family conflict is very humbling. And you know what? Reverend Nick, I've experienced this. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter the money in your pocket. It does not matter your bank balance. When your family hurts, it hurts as much for the person who comes to my office driving the latest state-of-the-art car and the person who came walking or by matatu. The pain is at the very core of you, and it is the same for every human being. It doesn't matter how much you have. But We have a law on marriage. I have to remember that I'm a lawyer, not a counselor. We have a law on marriage, which is the Marriage Act of 2014. It provides for how you get into marriage, and it also provides for how you get out of marriage in terms of divorce. The grounds are there, and the processes that you need to get into, and the courts that you need to go to. But my concern always is the recognition that marriage breaks down through a process. It's a process. The breakdown of marriage is a process. It's not an event. It doesn't happen when you go to the lawyer's office, to the lawyer's office, although many times we are blamed for helping break down marriages. But absolutely no. In fact, by the time you find yourself in my office, there's a good chance that you've been thinking about that not in 1 year and not even for 2 years. So for me, marriage breaks down where it starts, which is emotionally, you see, and then it breaks down physically, and then finally legally. So there are many of us sitting in this congregation, sitting in our homes, who are in the process of divorce, but they have not yet got to the point where they want to seek help, okay? And I wish that they could seek help sooner, because when you're in that state of conflict where you're not talking to the other person, you haven't spoken for even 2 or 3 years, you have not had conjugal intimacy, you've not had sexual intimacy, you are even sometimes physically separated, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? What are you doing there? And so we find that many children get traumatized in that space because they don't know what to make of their parents. And of course, when you don't have conjugal intimacy between a husband and a wife, there's also a lot of suspicion. And so people begin to not speak to each other. People begin to speak to each other, to shout at each other. And what then happens is that your children get traumatized. And that's why many times we have angry youth out here saying, my father mistreated my mother, or my mother mistreated my father. And in the course of that, we miss out on so many things. I remember a woman who told me very many years ago, I don't even know how my children turned out so well, Judy, because when they were growing up, I was in constant conflict with their father. You know, we cannot afford not to do what is right for our children. We need to be there to be in the moment. So whatever it is that is taking our attention away from deliberately bringing up our children, socializing them right, you know, that whichever it is, we need to get into that space and help people. Yes.
Okay. So finally,
yes,
within this physical congregation, yes, or our online congregation,
yes,
there probably are some couples that are considering divorce. Or there's a partner who's been thinking about divorce, or there's somebody who's been thinking about separation, or somebody who's been considering it. I just want to give you an opportunity, as one that has engaged and interacted with couples that have gone through this entire process, and you've seen a clear picture of, you know, where they're at right now, but also just you've seen a reality of, you know, the journey that they have taken all through, but also based on your faith, also based on your own marriage relationship of 27 years. I just want to give you the opportunity to be able to just speak to them directly and actually tell them, what would you tell a couple that is presently considering divorce?
Okay. If you're here and listening to me wherever, here is what I'd like to tell you. That no one wins in divorce. Actually, the only winner is the lawyer. Why? We get paid. Your family loses. Sometimes it is inevitable that a marriage ends in divorce, like Reverend Nick has just summarized. But even then, could you ensure that you mitigate the loss to your family by engaging in a process that is dignified, that leaves you with your spouse, with your partner, if you have children, in a place of dignity? But also that family conflict is inevitable. Don't be shy about being able to say that you have family conflict and you need help. Don't feel shy about that. It is inevitable. It's the easiest thing. And actually, I find that people almost want to shield the fact that they're going through a conflict. And if you let us know in good time that you have conflict, we can expose you to mediation in good time. We can expose you to counseling in good time. And there's a good chance that you could still retrieve your marriage. But that even if you do not retrieve your marriage, you will retrieve the dignity of your family, those children in it, yourself, and the other person. I just want to give you 1 or 2 points that might help. I was told by a senior member of this society. She had just retired from the UN. She was above 60 and had been out of this country for a long time. And she said to me, Judy, I want to sue my husband. And I said, why? Actually, her former husband. And she said, because, you know, for the last 20, actually it was more than 30-something years that I've been married to him, I celebrated birthdays, key dates, Christmases, Easters, with his family members, because they became my family. That identity became my identity. I mourned. I went through difficult moments with his family. And then all of a sudden, he decides to leave me and go elsewhere and look elsewhere. So she said to me, I don't mind the guy. By the way, she said the guy wasn't so good looking anymore. But I mind the fact that those with whom I have invested my time for the last over 30 years are no longer available to me. So I am now going to retire, old and lonely and without the people in whom I have invested all my energy. So I just need you to know that it's not easy. It's very defining to come to an end of your marriage. But also, just maybe an important figure. Last year, at Milimani Law Courts, we completed 60 divorce cases. That's what we got there. And it doesn't sound like a large number, but it is, considering that half of that time, courts were closed. It took us a long time to embrace the virtual hearing of cases and even to just get going. So if we completed 60 divorce cases for Nairobi only, that is not a small figure. But the Attorney General's office, the Registrar of Marriages, as at July 8th of last year, 2020, had pending cases of 2,500 couples that wanted to get married. They were under such intense pressure because they had closed their offices, and there were 2,500 people waiting to get married, COVID notwithstanding. You might remember that they had to open up space at Nairobi Primary so that they could conduct marriages. What am I saying? That all is not lost. People still desire to get married, even in COVID times, even in the very difficult times. What must we do as a church and a community? I think is to let them know from the beginning to expect conflict, because I know that when we got married, nobody told us to expect conflict. We expected it to be smooth all the way, but it wasn't, because it cannot be. And I think what has helped us, speaking for me and speaking for, and I've seen many young lawyers come through me. By the way, initially I used to wonder, are they going to get married when they see all this marital breakup? But actually, almost all of them that have gone through my office have become married. So what does it help us to do? It helps us to know that conflict is inevitable. It helps us to know that if we seek resolution of conflict in good time, marriage can actually be retrieved. So I'm saying, people desire to marry. Many people will continue to marry. One divorce is a divorce too many, seeing how traumatic it can be. But can the church help us, help people anticipate conflict, and so that we can then seek help as soon as we can? Yes.
And you told me when the couple comes to see you seeking to be able for you to file for divorce,
yes,
there's something you do with them. Could you just mention that before we close?
I see. I'm happy to do that. So people come and tell me, Judy, I want divorce. And I usually ask them why, and so that they can tell me why. Many times somebody will tell you, my husband left or my wife left, and I usually ask them, so why are you facilitating their leaving? Okay? So I usually tell them, what is most important, I think, and if I was sitting, I always tell them, I hope that if I was sitting where you are sitting, the person sitting where I am sitting would help me understand that marriage breakdown is a process, that I should start with the emotion, that is, refer them to counseling, that I should then go to mediation, and that eventually And hopefully after 24 months, I can go into divorce. I say 24 months because in the Marriage Act of 2014, we have a ground called irretrievable breakdown of marriage based on a separation of 24 months. And by the way, I have now learned this practically, that it actually takes about 24 months for the person who's separated to start feeling, to start adjusting themselves to that new space. In other words, I tell people, don't rush to court. You only pay me when I file a divorce in court, but I'm telling you, don't go there yet. Go through the other processes, and if you still want to divorce after 24 months, then you have a ground that dignifies your family because you do not wash your dirty linen in public. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And I don't know if you appreciate the value of that. For someone who gains their income from filing cases in court, telling you, no, don't give me the money now, keep it for another 24 months, and not rush to court, I think that's a place of great integrity in that sense. But we also want to celebrate the 27 years of marriage that we are celebrating with you in this season. And we want to celebrate the fact that you love the Lord and are serving Him faithfully even now. Can we join together to celebrate Judy Thong'ori? Thank you very much once again. Thank you and God bless you. Let's give a big round of applause